Hey, what's up everybody? BDF 44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so I took a nice shower, smoked a whole lot of this new wedding cake that I purchased. Probably more than usual, so I figured I'd turn on the camera since I was thinking, how I be thinking. Deep, what have you. But, this is not about anything that I've been talking about as of late in regards to these subjects on here. No, I like to switch it up sometimes. I was thinking about more so my rejection of the school system. And as I was sitting up here just talking aloud as I often do with my crazy head, I was thinking, like, as I was a child looking at how things were structured in school and just feeling as if it was something spiritually off about the entire process of how the children were treated in regards to information and being taught information. To me, it was this. As I'm sitting there in school and I'm getting these good grades and I'm looking around, I'm realizing that some kids were feeling good about themselves based on the grades that they were getting, and other kids were feeling bad about themselves. Now, mind you, I was a kid who was good at math early on. Like kindergarten, I was already able to put 1 and 1, 2 and 2 and all that stuff together because my mother made an emphasis, put an emphasis on it. Prior to me getting, started with school, she wanted her son to know how to read and kind of know the basics of certain things so that when I got there it wouldn't be so difficult to learn. So, I was already excelling in that stuff before I got there. But by the time I got there, it wasn't, when they tested me, it's like, okay, I got a leg up. I kind of had some basic notion of what I needed to learn, I guess is what I can say. And so it was easy for me to pick up some of the math, and I would, do very well and stuff like that. And it would become a situation where sometimes kids would ask me questions like, "Hey, B, how did we do this? How?" And I just realized I would become kind of somewhat low-key popular because of it. Now, mind you, this is early on. We're talking, I'm about 5, 6, 7 years. It's kindergarten, like literally the first year of the first semester of my elementary school experience. And so it's like I went through a process where I'd done the math work already that first year, which is what I'm trying to say. And then they ended up telling me I had to do the same kindergarten, I think it was a first grade math book. I think that's how that went. It's obviously hard to remember, but they had me doing a different math book because I was already advanced. And then when I got to that actual grade, they made me do that book again. It was that kind of thing, you know what I mean? Because what they weren't going to do is teach the entire class differently on my behalf. And they weren't going to put me in a different grade level. So it was like, just pretend you didn't learn this already and do the book again. And it's like, no, I just did this book the whole semester. So it kind of killed my spirit in a way, because not only were they telling me I had to do the book again, but I had excelled in it. To the point where they had like kind of called me into a classroom once and said, "Hey man, let's do this testing. Let's sit down and do some testing." And certified me gifted based on how well I was doing in math at that time. So in my mind, I was like, these people are trying to set me back. Like, they're trying to deter me, And the way that my mind worked was like I was really sensitive to that. So I just started like saying, F school, I didn't care. By the time second grade came around, I was in a mindset where I'm going to go to sleep when math comes around. I basically started protesting. I didn't really realize I was protesting, but I was more or less rebelling as a little child, like, F y'all gonna make me do this math again? So when it's time to do math, I put my head down and went to sleep. And for whatever reason, although I can think of a few, for whatever reason, they allowed me to do it. They literally allowed me to do it. So I started developing the worst habits in regards to school. And so if you go through my curriculum and through my, well, not curriculum, but if you go through my transcripts, you're going to see a whole lot of F's. Like, throughout the whole time. Like, it was D's, F's, D's, that's because I never once, when I say never once put any effort into school based on that very early experience where I felt deterred and rejected. And then from there, it was almost like, yo, my spirit thought as a young child that this is another traumatic experience, because I had already come out of something that was extremely negative, right? without giving you guys details, it was traumatic, like 2 years old. So it's like, for me, I'm already awakened by that evil. So if something's gonna bump my spirit, it has to be equated to that level. It can't just be something that I don't like. No. It has to be, okay, there's a demon around the corner and it's about to come attack. That type of thing. So for me, it was like, school is another version of that. I done already been through too much. I ain't about to, you know what I mean? So for me, it was like, all right, since I gotta be here, I don't think it's an actual demon coming around the corner, so to speak. But I reject this. I don't like how y'all doing me. I don't like the testing. I don't like y'all giving me work to do after I leave this place, after being here for 8 hours, 9 hours. Like, that's too much. I want to go home and I want to enjoy life outside of this, because that's my real rhythm. I knew this as a child. When I say a child, I knew this as a child. I did not like the structure of being tested and then seeing my results being shown to other kids. Even though a lot of times I would be doing well in those experiences, I just see how it made those other kids feel, and I'm like, this is a mind screw. You know what I mean? Obviously not in those words, but like, I was like, yo, this is not right. They're making the kids feel sad because they're not learning fast. Like, that's how I equated it. I'm like, nah, this is wrong. Like, this is all wrong. Like, and so in my mind, I'm like, I reject this. I don't know if any of y'all excelling in this, but I don't like this. And then from there, it became something else, as to which I started, it's just kind of changing my mind. My whole synopsis on life kind of stemmed from that. And I got away from it, of course, as children do, where they want to go to school to be around their friends and go to different schools. So it's like you're excited for a time, but it always would revert after a while back to that same thing, to where I'm not about to be trying. These people want me to go home and still care about this bullcrap they got me reading here, and I don't even care about it here. So I ain't gonna take it home. It's like, and for me, and this is just the weirdness of my brain, failure is something I can control. You know what I mean? It's like, but y'all gonna get, essentially what it is you put pressure on me to either succeed or fail. And it's definite that if I try my very hardest, I may succeed. But if I do nothing at all, it's certain I can fail. And in my mind, I'm like, well, what does failure actually mean as it pertains to the consequences in my household? And see, if you bring home an F in some people's household, it's the end of the world. And in other households, it's like, you might lose your video games or something like that. For me, it was like, might lose your video games, something like that. And my mom, she really took education seriously, but what she did not have the patience for was me and my brain and the mental hula hoops I would put her through trying to get my way, because I was not simple. You know what I mean? So it was like she didn't want to deal with all that. She was already older in life and dealing with my moody, crazy, philosophical, this is why I don't have to, even as a child, got nerve-wracking for my mother, as you could probably imagine. So that's really what it was. I just wore her down overall. Oh, like, honestly, I think that's what it was. Like, I grow older, I look and I say, man, that lady was already tired, bro. She didn't have time to be arguing with you every day about the same dang thing. And that's really what it was. Because I was always in the same mindset. Like, it was Groundhog Day for me. Every day I woke up in the morning, told her the same story about my stomach hurting. Why? Because I knew if I told her my stomach hurting, I could sit in bed and she would never make me face the anxiety of getting in the shower, going to work, going to school, and ultimately having to face whatever it was I was anxious about, whatever it was. Because it developed over time, It was one of those things where it's like, all right, a combination of video games, insecurities that developed based on physical deformities, you know what I mean, that came from playing video games for 7 and 8 hours and not ever exercising, not ever, going out there and trying to be athletic or what have you. You know what I mean? We can get the whole daddy wasn't in the home to throw the football thing around, if you want to say that. That's a real thing, you know what I mean? So for me, it was like my mother was coddling me at home, giving me what it is that made me happy, try to supplement the trauma that I went through when I was a child. So it wasn't really about discipline, because I had gotten such a really messed up start, you know what I mean? So for her, it was like, no matter, even when I'm disciplining this dude, it's almost like, since he's went through that, I gotta treat him a certain way. And a lot of times when she was disciplining me, I would act out because of what I had been through, you know what I mean? So it was like, it wasn't as simple as I'm getting a spanking. I would get a spanking and have a complete fit, you know what I mean? So it's like, when you're dealing with someone who had been through what I've been through at such an early age, I would imagine it's difficult to discipline them as they are, you know, enacting this impossible defensive mechanism. You know what I mean? That you can't break through as his mother. I wasn't letting that come through because, you know what I mean? It was one of those situations where the trauma, I guess, it had helped develop some type of distance between myself and even my mother to a degree, I think, if I look back on it. So, yeah, man, all that came together to just make me a very unhappy person as an adolescent. 10, 11, 12, all the way up to about 14, 15, when I started really feeling myself and started discovering girls and stuff like that. That was when it was really all right. It's not so much about how I look, but how I'm presenting. And then from there, I started taking care of myself, learning how to take care of myself, and the rest has been me, developing those habits. But man, those were very impactful moments and times in my life because it developed who I was, and it started from trauma, unfortunately. So it's like, you know what I mean? You get to a point where it's like you look back on life and you wonder how certain things develop, why you're in certain spaces, and it's a combination of things. You know, not only how you were raised and what your norms are based on that, but also some of the way you see the world and how your brain functions and how you equate things just off rip. You know, if I would have had a number of different experiences, I probably would have handled them very differently because of this brain anyway. So with this brain having this path, it's like, oh, nah, I took a very specific course. And that course was, I'm going to skip the human training program and I'm going to find my intellect a different way. Now that has it so that you just skip steps. You will skip steps, specifically in science and math. I've learned that those are things that you probably need to follow the curriculum all the way up in order to fully get what you need. And then you understand the context of something you need to seek in other areas. So no matter what it is that you learn, there's still more to experience based on the norms that others have experienced with the agreements that come from being in that human training course that is school, I should say. So some things are just missed, you know, upon a person like myself from not being in those spaces, reading those books with y'all. But at the end of the day, I found some other things, you know what I mean, about myself, particularly how to think outside the box and how to look at things from a way that a lot of people who have gone through the human training course, so to speak, I oftentimes don't see the angles that I see. And it's like, oh, so maybe this is why the Lord made me this way. Maybe this is why I took the path I did. Maybe it's why I don't have those things in my head that would have otherwise made me normal. Because whatever it was that was in that algorithm made it so that y'all was blind to certain stuff. That's what I've come to understand, and of course me too, blind to things that you see as well. So it's one of those things where it's like, we need to get to a point where we need to understand that we've learned a thing, a curriculum, a rhythm, a way how to be, through just this sheer notion that we need to take information based on how we are weighed against other students, how we're weighed against the quickness we get the information, the efficiency from which the information settles in our minds, and we're weighed, and our intelligence is weighed upon how quick that information goes in, how well that information settles. And then I realized that doesn't tell the whole story of a person's intellect at all. You know, that's only like two different things as opposed to like so many different things that you can look at in regards to how to give a person information, how best to receive that information, how best to determine whether or not a person is receiving information, how well they keep that information over time, etc. It's like they don't even weigh those things when they're grading us. So I'm like, look, man, I don't like none of this. I can think beyond it. And I just rejected it early. That was my mindset. I'm like, nah, y'all not about to play these mind games with me. If I get a fail, it's going to be because I wanted to fail. Not because y'all looked at how I was getting the information, saw that I didn't test well in that information, and then determined whether or not I was able to learn from there. I rejected that. Hell no. Hell no. No, not at all. Because at the end of the day, what I saw was the dude that can take all that information in very well didn't have a whole lot of feel in life. He didn't have feel in life. Do you know what I mean by feel? He couldn't dress well, couldn't fight. You know what I'm saying? Dude couldn't talk to girls. There were levels of his intellect that were lacking. He might have been a genius in this area, but he couldn't last 5 minutes in the streets. So how the hell did him testing well have anything to do with his intellect? It just meant that he was very, very adaptive to the algorithm that you sent him through in the human school. He vibed well with that. You feel me? And so that's how I equated it. I'm like, look, I don't vibe well with that. I don't, man. I'm a listening guy. I want to hear music. I like going toward things I like. You got to find a way to reach me through the things that I like if you want me to get this information. That's how I learned. I was like, look, you want me to get this information? You better tell me through the music. You want me to learn about the Ottoman Empire? You better put it in the video game. I don't give a damn about all this stuff you're talking about, but I can get this same information. I promise you that. Just give it to me a different way. And that's all I'm at. I'm like, look, I don't want to go to school, man. Nobody does, bro. And most importantly, I'm not too stupid to get the information. Look, it's another aspect of what I wanted to say. So, as a child, I would walk around with literally like a military backpack. In 6th grade, military backpack. When I say military, I got that thing from the surplus store in Hollywood. They sold nothing but the best. High quality stuff. This thing had all the bells and whistles on it. And the only reason why I did that is because none of the backpacks that I could find, the regular backpacks that were worth price, could actually fit those books. With the walking that I did and the way that I was walking around Hollywood, it was like, yo, so much pressure on my back, I would run through a backpack in a year. So I needed one of those military backpacks for the type of books that they were throwing on me at that time in private school. So I'm like, all right, this is nothing to me. I got a strong back, you know, I can handle that, whatever. You know, give me what I need. I had started lifting weights back then anyway. I was a little kid, but my uncle gave me some weights, so I started lifting them anyway. Right around that time, so I'm like, give me the military backpack. I'm big now, and so I had that backpack on. And they gave me all these big old books, and it used to wear me down mentally, right? Because I look at the books and I see it's so heavy, and then you gotta go to page 37 and read some words about some crap you don't care about, and then you gotta remember the information. They're gonna question you, and then you gotta write properly. It had to be in cursive writing. So it's like if you misspell, now you're thinking about misspelling, you gotta erase it. And it's just so many different things that in my mind I hate it. And I literally hate all of this. I don't like none of this, as you can see. So it's the process of this. I'm like, all right, F this entirely. I don't like none of this crap. This is garbage. What I would much rather do is watch the Lakers. You know what I'm saying? Like literally. Or give me my VHS tapes and let me watch BET Uncut or whatever music video sites I can find, and let me record all the best music possible, the best music videos possible, and let me absorb as much of this musical energy that I can, because that's what I vibe with, not that freaking human school crap that you guys got me going through. I hate all of that. Like, that's not for me. This is where I excel. This is where I need to be. But of course, you know, you got to be in school. Like, literally have people knock on your door if you try not to go to the human school at that time, even though they literally never did for me, which I was thankful for. Which was always funny to me. It was like, you know, they actually lied and told people that they did that. They really didn't do that. For those who are wondering, like, oh, you know, kids would be missing from school and they go come knock on your door and see, make sure you come back. Nah, they never did. Like, they came, no. I don't think they wanted me there anyway. But it's one of them situations where it's like, as I look back on it, it's like, man, I didn't get what I needed as a child in certain areas, but I'm okay. Like, I'm cool, man. I think at this point, I know I can learn. I know to seek context, so I know there's knows that I don't know, so to speak. And so not to walk into situations too pretentious, even though it's my natural nature to just think I know certain things based on what I see. But at the end of the day, it's like, man, humility and stuff like that, I ain't learned none of that in school. You know, self-respect, I ain't learned none of that in school. How to handle taxes, how to manage credit, you know, didn't learn any of the things that I actually needed. They were putting me in human school and essentially made it as undesirable as humanly possible for the humans that were in it. Most of the kids, I mean, they were miserable just like me, only they didn't have the afforded nature of a household that would allow them to stay home for months at a time like I did. You understand what I'm saying? It's sad in a lot of people's minds. Like, why didn't your mom fight for your education? I can't say. I think she asked herself that a lot of times, to be honest with you. We could have did a little more. You know, we could have did some things, but for me it was like I didn't want it. Like I would have been miserable. Like absolutely miserable. Because the notion to me that I couldn't get that information unless I had them big books on my back weighing me down in that military backpack, as to which when you open them damn books, you get so bombarded with information that you don't care about. It psych you out. It make you feel like it's just overwhelming. For me, personally, it was like, nah, this is anxiety. I'm getting anxious off of this. Now I look at they sending me report cards to my house. All these damn letters on it. And my mom's looking at me a certain way, and I'm supposed to think that I'm a bad guy because I didn't get these letters right. Like, what the hell is this garbage? What are we talking about? And then I realized, yo, all the reading that I was overwhelmed by in those books that was weighing me down in that military backpack, I look at my phone right now and I get thrown 3 times that information every day in a matter of 10 minutes. 3 times the information that was in those books that used to weigh my mind down, that made me not want to look at that stuff. I read 20 times those words in a matter of an hour. Just in my phone, just scrolling around, looking at ads, looking at everything that may pop up with words on it. And I realize that just takes me back to what I was saying. It's not about the information. It's about how we're being received, how it's coming our way. It weighs people down. It pins people against each other. It creates the environment of competitive nature for which, I don't know, a lot of what it is our world is kind of suffering from. You know, it starts in the school and how these kids have to be competitive and how they have to be robots and getting this information a certain way, and then it's like, oh, we gotta learn the new technology. It's like, my God, man, don't we realize that a lot of what is missing is feel? It's feel, man. It's just like I was seeing a basketball coach. I don't remember exactly who it was, but he was watching his kids do certain plays in this layup line, doing certain moves, and he's like, yo, in the game, you're not gonna be able to do that. You can't just be systematic and make certain foot motions for no reason. You gotta have a purpose for what it is you're doing. If all you're doing is running drills, and then when you go out there, you're gonna be a machine out there that's really easy to overcome by people who have what? Feel. That's the parallel to what we're talking about. The mechanical basketball players, they don't get far against guys who really got talent, who have feel for the game, because what you're working on only makes a difference if what it is that you're going against is meant for what it is that you're doing. If not, then you're just a machine out there that's easy to read. And that is exactly what human beings are when they go through the human school and do all the stuff that they want you to do, the Truman training course. You know what I mean? Going through the process of all this higher learning, all this nonsense, as to which you reach a certain ceiling, as to which you have to dry yourself of all of your family's worth in order to get the higher learning, which is absolutely ridiculous, because that information can be given to me through a song and a video game just like anything else as well, which is what I also understand. There's nothing you can learn in these higher learning places where you're spending millions of dollars to get the highest of education that you can't put into your phone and read the same way that you read in McDonald's ad or a sports ad. None of that stuff is too smart for any of us at this point. That's what I've learned. That's the point of what I'm saying. When information comes to me, the way them books was weighing me down, walking, killing my back, trying to keep up with the curriculum, that information was supposed to weigh my mind down. Those tests, they were meant to pin me against others, pin me against my own self, make me think I'm not good enough to get the information on time, and all this other bullcrap that we ultimately pin each other against in our real worlds, in our working environments, stuff like that. Oh yeah, it's competitive. It's garbage, man. I'm telling you, it's garbage. It's the one thing I've learned in this household by myself is none of that matters at all. Truthfully, the only thing that really matters, honestly, is your relationship with the source. Then from there, everything else falls into place. You will find your algorithm outside of the human training course, because if it didn't exist, you still would. Our ancestors taught us that. They didn't have none of this, and we're still here, aren't we? That's because they lived their entire lives. They passed their information. They lived their entire lives, passed their information. And suddenly we have all this stuff that apparently we can't live without. Not I. No better. All we're supposed to do is see all of this as cookie cutter, understand that it was for yesterday, and know that we can do better tomorrow. That's why I support people like Kanye who want to do things differently in terms of teaching kids a different way. Teach them a different way. I don't know if his way is the right, I don't know, but the cookie cutter way it's been, the crap that I was raised with, it was wrong for me. It was wrong for me. And if I was given what was right for me, I think I'd be in a higher space. I think I'd be in a much better, greater place from which to tell you this. To say the school system failed me isn't the truth. Any school system would have failed me. The whole way it's structured is a failure. That ain't the only way to get information. That's not the way my mind learns naturally. It's not. If anything, that's how my anxiety was developed in that environment. No, that may have worked for a lot of minds. Maybe it works for most, which is why it's what people have been doing. But you run into minds like mine and you realize, nah, nope. All that was going to do was make me reject it. And fortunately enough, I had a mom that just bended a little bit, enough for me to be able to fall into my natural self, to whatever detriment it may appear to be. I'm comfortable in my own skin based on it, and can grow from here based on that understanding. All that stuff that's in all them books, all that stuff that's in those colleges, I'm free to pick up those books now and learn them from here. So that's what I come to understand. It's like I didn't miss anything. It's just about what I'm willing to do from here. Simple. I used to always tell people, it's a wonder how I speak the language. But it's not. I had a great mom. She taught me those things. I knew what I needed to know to have a good base from which to learn no matter where I was going to be at in the world for the rest of my life. Because she had given me the understanding of basic communication, which regardless of what language it is, it's about tone and respect and manners. She taught me that before I even got to school. So from there, I can live anywhere in the world and learn, because I was going to be able to incorporate myself just about anywhere, with anyone. And learn it in school, I learned it with her. So it's like, man, I don't know. In the schools I went to, the things that I learned, I had some good people I knew there in schools and stuff like that. And a lot of my friends I still know from school. But they'll tell you I was never there. I didn't go. Most of my friends knew me from school, but they didn't keep relationships with me because I was going to school. They knew me from other places, etc. You know what I mean? So it was like, man, human training course. God bless everybody who went through it. You're able to prove. You know what I mean? You were able to prove that you could do the work, that you can get through a curriculum, that you could be consistent in life, that you could show up somewhere and be there on time. And that's the rhythm that's missed. When you don't do that structure, that's missed. You know? Being able to be on time or what have you. But since the world is changing so much, people don't have to leave their house to be, you know, it's different now. But that's the point. It is different now. They couldn't anticipate that. Half the crap they taught me was useless, man. It was useless as garbage. Absolute garbage. And I knew it then. That's the thing, my little mind. I knew. I was like, these people, nah, I'm not going to do this with you. And wouldn't I know it, after stuff they was teaching people, it was not going to be necessary anyway. I had it right. All the stuff that I was paying attention to while I wasn't in school is the stuff that I use right now the most. My understanding, the MBA knowledge and all this stuff, it came along the way from studying that stuff instead of going through the human school. That's why I have the channel. That's why I think I'm good at what I do. Now, maybe I could be more impactful if I would have went through the human school, probably be in the MBAs to some degree, working as an official person, but that wasn't my path anyway. I needed to be here doing it this way. And I know that. Not bound by any of them contracts that everybody complained about. Oh, no, I got freedom to speak. And I'm comfortable. That's key to it all. I'm comfortable. However that perceives to you, however that's perceived. I look at a bunch of people who have made it to where they say I should be reaching for, they're uncomfortable. However you perceive that. Their homes may be better, they may have more going on, whatever, but they're unhappy, like genuinely unhappy. And while I've been genuinely unhappy, at this moment I'm not, and it has nothing to do with what I have and what I don't, because they couldn't give me that. In their contract, they couldn't give me inner peace. You see what I'm saying? And they can't take it from me either, because my soul's not for sale. Now, had I went through this human school, I would have never had that thought in my mind, because they would have taught me to reach up, because that's all we're doing, we're reaching up. Keep reaching up, reach up, reach up. You must go through it, reach up. So all they ever teach you is just sky's the limit, reach up. But what they don't tell you is that sometimes when you reach up, you're reaching for stuff that you can't handle, stuff that's not meant for you. I'm gonna tell you that. Anyway, whatever. Regardless, this is my path, you know what I mean? If somebody else was in my shoes, I don't think they would enjoy it as much. I don't think they'd be comfortable, but that's the point. You have to do what comes naturally to you. If what comes naturally to you is to go through the human training course, then damn it, that's where you need to be. The course is there for a reason, go through it. But for those of us like me, we shouldn't be deterred because we don't follow the rhythm that's in that school. We shouldn't be tossed away as people who can't think properly, or people who are not smart, or what have you, or people who need to be judged by their grades. Because my mentality was, F them grades. I'm going to get every single one of them things. You're going to see a failed every single one of them. Why? Because I was smart enough to deliberately say F all y'all, because I could see that crap wasn't for me. So when I look at my grades, I say, yep, that was a child in control. That's exactly what I see when I look at my grades. When I look back, I'm like, yeah, you know, I could have got straight B's, A's, all that stuff if I would have applied myself, but I would instead decided to apply myself differently. I protested the sheer notion that they would dare pin me against someone else in regards to me trying to learn the curriculum, that half of that crap wasn't even going to be useful when I grew up. Yes, friends, I knew that then, and that's exactly what I was thinking for the most part as a child. Just couldn't articulate that at all. Could not. But it was a protest. Yeah, man. I'm different. I'm very different. One of the first things my dad said, that boy got something to say. They said my voice is loud. They could hear me 2 floors down in the hospital. 2 floors down. I was screaming so loud. The loudest baby they had ever heard. Me. Mess. You know what I'm saying? So it's a different person you're looking at here. And I don't know where the path is headed, but just like I tell everybody, with as many videos as I've done, the damage is already done. Whatever needed to be said, and as my mother and my father said, that boy got something to say. I think I've already said it. But I'm still talking though. I'm still learning, and I'm still growing, I'm still evolving, and I believe in my own evolution. You know what I mean? So I'm not married to anything that I say except for I believe in God, and I believe in myself, believe in you, I love the Lakers, stuff like that. But other than that, new information provides new opinions, man. That's how I live. And if you're not seeking context in what you're doing, you're just asking to be wrong. That's what I've learned. You better ask more questions. Don't think you know too much. You don't. That's what people who don't go through the human school must know. We must know that. Because a lot of the people who are on the side that I'm on, we don't be seeking context. We think we know everything. We don't be thinking enough about what's missing. Just because we didn't go through that don't mean there wasn't some things in there that we didn't need. Need some stuff in that rhythm. There were some things you needed to align with so that you can be a Roman in Rome. As you need to be, you know, they say be in Rome, be in Rome. So they say when you're in Rome, do as the Romans do. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to do as the Romans do when you don't know how they do, because you weren't doing what they was doing from the first place. So that's where people like me run the trouble. But the faith takes over from there, man. It is what it is. Let God handle all that. I'll be where I need to be so long as I'm living right. That's what I've learned. When you're doing things the right way in the dark, everything else in the light seems to be a bit more clear as it pertains to where you need to be going and how you need to be moving. But when you're doing things the wrong way, and you're living foul, yeah, you're going to be in the dark for real, and a lot of your moves aren't going to make any sense. I tell you, and this is reflected in my body, my literal body. I didn't start seeing not reactions, that's not the right word. Didn't start seeing results in my fitness in the way that I wanted to until I started making some different type of decisions internally, until I started changing some things in my life that I knew that I needed to change. As soon as I started making those changes, I started seeing the results in my physical, in my flesh, that I had long been looking to see when I'd work out. Now maybe it's nothing, maybe it's something, but what I'm telling you is it was almost immediate. From the time I made the decision to just cut that out, that's when I started seeing six-pack, chest start getting in shape, arms start getting in shape. I didn't really change anything. As far as my workout habits and like nothing changed. But start living different. Start praying different. Start praying more. The prayers changed the different things. Instead of Lord forgive me for sins, now it's like Lord let's different, you know? You're not wasting your time asking for forgiveness. And so that's what started changing, man. And I started seeing how that was something that I should follow. That's what I'm saying to you. You see those changes in your body, you start seeing how that correlates with making those changes. It's like, yeah, I want to stay on this side. Because I was doing them exercises for 5-6 years, didn't see no changes because I wasn't living right. As soon as I started changing my mindset, then I start seeing all those definitions popping up and all these different things that I want to see. I was like, oh, okay, I see how you want me to live, Lord. So long as I'm doing right, I'm going to see what I need to see in myself. I'm going to be the person I want to be. I'm going to reflect properly on this screen. But if I go back and revert to my demonic ways, oh man, I'm going to go back to looking the way I was looking, and probably the content ain't going to be as blessed. And even my art ain't going to be as blessed. And then everything else I'm doing is probably going to lead me and everybody else who follows me in the direction ain't no good. So I'm going to stay over here. You see what I'm saying? It makes me want to stay away from anything that I was otherwise tempted to do any other time. So that relationship with God is important, man. You got to find that. And I found it in depression. I found it in the spirit of being just sad because I went through little times of human school when it didn't go so well for me, and now I'm like, you know, I'm an unhappy heavy kid at this point, you know, with man tits, and I'm made fun of all the time. So it's like all of that began, and it started from just not allowing myself to be comfortable with the decision not to go to school. I let that play on my head. You're not going to school. You're not meant for school. You're not built for that. You're not smart enough. I started telling myself those things because I was rejecting school and wasn't focused on why. Didn't even really know why. Just felt it, you know. Couldn't articulate it, so it wasn't actual thought. I was just rejecting it, protested, can't do it, ain't gonna do it, forget y'all. But every time I talk to my grandfather, why you ain't going to school? What are you gonna do? You know, those type of things. Mama, sad. I can't get him to go to school. That weighs on my spirit now. It's like I can't do this protest if I don't have support. Everybody's telling me I need to go to this traumatic space. And now, mind you, of course, as I said earlier in the video, this is trauma that I'm trying to equate it to. So it's like they're trying to force me back into a traumatic space. This is almost like, and then it goes back to a moment where my mom asked me to go somewhere and I told her not to let me go in there. And then when I went in there, the worst happened. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, for me, it's like, oh no, I'm revisiting this in a different metaphorical way. Oh no, you know what I mean? So it's like, for me, it was so much deeper than just not wanting to go to school. And so now I look back on it, it's like, it was all purposeful. It was all purposeful. I needed it to be this way. You know, I made my choices and I had logical reasons for the choices I made, even though they look irrational, they were sound. And I picked up a lot of things I needed in life, but I missed a lot of things too. That's essentially what I'm here to say. You know what I mean? So all these different things I've talked about, man, I know I've got about 5 minutes left before I run out of space, but I appreciate you guys allowing me to ramble about my mindset, about my past, about my relationship with school, the human training system, school, whatever. I've said a million different ways, but basically that thing we're all supposed to do without question. It's so damn expensive when you get to higher heights rather. It's like, oh my God. Now I gotta not only be smart as hell, but I gotta be rich as hell just to like get the info. Or what are we talking about? What are we talking? What is in those books? It can't just be how to open up a head. Like, it can't just be how to send a rocket ship up to Earth. You guys gotta be talking to God Himself for as expensive as it is to get into them Harvard books, man. Are you kidding me? Jesus Christ. What are y'all hiding from the rest of us? And everybody just walks along the way like, oh, this is fine, this is fine. They're throwing more information at you in your phone than they're probably throwing at them in them books, man. What's in them books they don't want us to see? Why that stuff so expensive and so elite? You gotta be able to be a certain type of algorithm mind to go through that human system. Yeah. It's like, what type of genetics do I have to have? who do I need to mate with so that my child can be algorithmed perfectly for that? What's up with that? How can I get there? It's crazy, man. But anyway, that's what I want to say, man. I want to use up all of your time. I appreciate you allowing me to. This is yet another therapy session, man. They're all over the place because I'm all over the place. And will remain that until I'm out of here. But it's a lot of peace in my heart, man. No more depression. a lot of what I've talked about I've come out of, and now it's just about seeing where to go from here, you know. So that's the importance of continuing this process. It's what got me to a space where I'm healed. So stopping it's just gonna revert me back to where I was. So we're gonna keep this thing going, and yeah, this is it. 2 more minutes left, and I'm not gonna use those. BDF 44. Thank you all for watching.